Hello everybody. Today's video is going to go through the first step of the engineering design process, define and clarify the problem. There is a worksheet that goes along with this. There's a reading on the top with some questions you have to answer, and then the bottom half goes along with this video lesson. What we're going to try to do is over the next few classes go through and get into a little bit deeper understanding of what each of these design steps means while trying to solve a problem. Today, let's just review all 6 steps before we start with step 1, define or clarify the problem. After we define or clarify the problem, the second step is to research and investigate the problem. The third step is to generate alternative solutions, which means brainstorming, coming up with lots of different ideas. Step 4, choose the best or optimal solution. Step 5, construct a prototype, which is a pre-production working model or a model. And step 6, test results and evaluate the solution, make changes if necessary. Now, let's take a little bit closer look at the first step to define or clarify the problem. In this step, we determine what the actual problem is through the use of a design challenge. This is where we want to really understand what we're trying to do. If we're working in a team or with a team of people solving the problem, each member on the team has to have that same clear concept of what needs to be done in order to solve the problem. If everyone's not on the same page, we might start working in different directions, creating problems in our final solution. So we really want to make sure we all understand. Like we said, we're going to use a design challenge. Now, this is one of the vocabulary words you want to type down onto that sheet. A design challenge is a clear, concise description of the issues that need to be addressed by a problem-solving team and should be presented to them or created by them before they try to solve the problem. So this is a clear, concise list in a really small case, things that have to be accomplished or what needs to be solved. And very complicated things, if we are going to be designing a car or an airplane, this might be a multi-page book just stating what the problem is that needs to be solved, making it clear and concise for each person that's working on the project what they need to be working for. Once we have our design challenge created, then we start to go through the criteria. The criteria are our rules or tests on which a decision can be based. Criteria a lot of times are stated ahead of time. Sometimes they're stated by local authorities. For instance, an architect has to follow building codes when creating a structure, building a building. With this, that architect has to know those codes in advance. If they don't know the codes and they don't apply them to their design won't be functional and won't be usable in that community, which could create quite a big problem for the people that were paying the architect to do that. An automotive engineer has to follow national safety standards when designing a new car. They have to make sure when they crash test the cars that those cars meet certain requirements. That's part of the criteria. If they don't meet that criteria, then their cars won't be able to be sold in the United States, which would create, once again, a big problem for the car company that created that car. So those are the criteria. Pretty soon we're going to start to go through your bridge project, and we'll state some of that criteria when we get to that point. Specifications is the written description of the size, shape, and the performance requirements of a product. A specification might tell how many people have to fit in a passenger plane, what the client wants in terms of figures for how many people can fly with that airline. That would be a specifications the engineers would have to figure out. Specifications, once again, might tell us uh, what type of engine we want to put in our car. Are we building a sports car? Right, we put a nice V8 engine in there, or are we building an economy car where we might have a four-cylinder, very small four-cylinder that gets really good gas mileage in there? If we're building a truck, specifications might mean that the engine has to provide a lot of torque so it can tow or carry heavy objects in its bed. It might be that it has to be a certain number of inches off the ground. So if people are using them to get on job sites where they're often not paved roads, or to go four-wheeling, they might need a certain height off the ground in order to make sure the car doesn't, or the truck doesn't get hung up on something. So specifications are going to tell us what we're trying to accomplish in the final project, what different sorts of things we have to clarify. Once again, we are going to go through our specifications a little bit later on in our unit when we start to talk about your bridge design a little bit more. But today, just make sure you put those vocabulary words onto the sheet. Make sure you turn that in when you're finished. If you have any questions, please email me. Have a great day. See you on the next one.